That should let everybody know that it's time to take a stand.
Feds say they do have video that they seized during the raids from those freak-offs, so they know who the celebrities are if they're already involved in the freak-off.
Word on the street right now is louder than ever. And this time, it's not just whispers. It's turning into a full-blown storm. People are saying that behind the glitz, the parties, and the million-dollar smiles, there might have been something much darker going on for years.
It wasn't the greatest place to be, so we had a lot of cleaning up to do.
And now, one name is suddenly being pulled into the spotlight in a whole new way. Snoop Dogg. Yeah, the same laid-back, smooth-talking icon everyone knows. But what nobody expected was his name getting tied to conversations about what really happened behind closed doors at some of the most exclusive parties in the industry.
The office is determined to investigate and prosecute no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be.
Because here's the twist. People aren't just talking about Diddy anymore. They're asking a bigger question. Who else knew? And according to online speculation, Snoop Dogg might have heard things, seen things, and possibly knows names that could shake the entire entertainment world.
But as time went on, and, I had to deal with the reality.
Now, nothing has been officially confirmed, and a lot of this is still based on rumors and claims floating around online, but that hasn't stopped people from connecting dots. And if even a fraction of it turns out to be true, this could change everything we thought we knew about fame, power, and loyalty in Hollywood.
And with him, it was like he was able to, take my career to the next level I did at Met Gala.
Because this isn't just about parties anymore. It's about influence, silence, and secrets that may have been protected for years. To really understand why this situation has people so shook, you have to go back, way back to how these relationships were built in the first place. For decades, Snoop Dogg and Diddy moved in the same circles. They were both giants in the music industry, both respected, both powerful in their own ways. They showed up at the same events, collaborated with similar artists.
Sometimes, Diddy would request certain works to be done and tell us don't go to sleep until it's done.
And we're part of a culture where exclusivity meant everything. Back in the day, those parties thrown by Diddy weren't just events, they were experiences. If you got an invite, it meant you had made it. Celebrities, athletes, business moguls, everyone wanted in. And on the surface, everything looked glamorous.
Savage! I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get!
But as time passed, stories started to come out, quietly at first. Little comments here and there, people hinting that once the cameras were gone, things changed. Not everyone spoke openly. In fact, most stayed completely silent. And that's what made it even more suspicious.
People around me just kind of hanging on, wanting stuff from me, knowing that
Because when people with power choose not to speak, it usually means there's something worth hiding. Now fast forward to today, and everything is under a microscope. With legal issues surrounding Diddy making headlines, more and more people have started revisiting the past. Old interviews, party footage, even random social media clips. Everything is being analyzed. And somehow, Snoop Dogg's name started trending in these conversations. Not because he's been accused of anything directly.
TMZ is reporting that at least 2 new people plan to cooperate with the feds, and they're willing to testify in front of the grand jury.
But because people believe he might know more than he's saying. And here's where things start to get intense. According to speculation online, there are claims that certain celebrities weren't just guests at these parties. They were allegedly part of the inner circle, the kind of people who helped keep things running smoothly, who knew how everything worked behind the scenes. Again, these are allegations, not confirmed facts, but people are asking questions like never before. Because if multiple high-profile individuals were involved, then this situation could be way bigger than anyone imagined. And then comes the part that really has everyone talking. the idea that Snoop Dogg may have distanced himself over time for a reason. Think about it. Fans have pointed out how, in recent years, Snoop has been more focused on family, business ventures, and staying in his own lane. Ever since his wife took on a more active role in managing his career, many noticed a shift. He seemed more controlled, more intentional, less connected to certain circles. Now, some are wondering if that was a coincidence or a decision.
What level of panic are you hearing from all these people we know who associated with him over the years?
Because what nobody expected was for old connections to suddenly look suspicious under new light. And as more stories surface, people are starting to revisit everything. There have been online discussions suggesting that some individuals who attended those parties might have felt pressure to stay quiet, not necessarily because they were guilty of anything, but because speaking out could have consequences, career-ending consequences. Because in an industry built on relationships, going against powerful figures can cost you everything. And that's where the emotional weight of this situation really hits. Because what if some people weren't just silent? What if they felt like they had no choice? There are also claims circulating that certain insiders may have helped organize events, manage guests, or handle situations behind closed doors. Again, nothing has been proven in court, but the conversation is growing louder. And with each new rumor, the pressure builds. Because now, it's not just about Diddy anymore. It's about the entire system that may have allowed certain things to happen without being questioned. People are asking, was this just a few individuals, or was it something bigger, something structured, something protected? And if that's the case, then how many people really knew? That question alone has the internet in a frenzy. Now, let's talk about the impact all of this is having. Because regardless of what's proven or not, the damage to reputations is already happening. Fans are looking at their favorite celebrities differently. Trust is being shaken, and the idea that fame automatically equals success and happiness is starting to crack. For someone like Snoop Dogg, who has built a brand around authenticity and staying real, even being mentioned in these conversations is significant because people expect him to speak. They expect clarity. But at the same time, they also understand the risk because speaking out in a situation like this isn't simple. It's complicated. It involves relationships, history, and possibly things we don't even fully understand yet. And that's why the silence feels so loud. Because sometimes what isn't said tells a bigger story than what is. Families, careers, friendships, everything can be affected when situations like this unfold publicly. And for those who might have been involved in any way, even indirectly, the pressure must be intense. Imagine waking up and seeing your name trending, not for your work, not for your achievements, but for something tied to controversy. That kind of spotlight can change everything overnight. And for those who might have been victims, if any of these allegations turn out to be true, the emotional toll could be even deeper. Because it's not just about exposure, it's about healing, justice, and finally being heard. But here's the thing, we're still at a stage where a lot of this is speculation. There are claims, discussions, theories, but very few confirmed answers. And that's important to remember, because in situations like this, the truth takes time. It unfolds slowly, piece by piece. And sometimes what we think we know turns out to be only part of the story. But even with that uncertainty, one thing is clear. The conversation isn't going away. If anything, it's just getting started. Because people want transparency, they want accountability, and they want to understand what really happened behind those closed doors. And maybe, just maybe, more voices will start to speak, more details will come out, and the truth, whatever it may be, will finally be revealed.
Until then, all eyes remain on the people connected to this story, watching, waiting, and asking one question that's echoing across the internet right now. Who else knew? Because if the walls of silence start to crack, this could be one of the biggest industry shakeups we've ever seen. So stay alert, stay curious, and keep paying attention, because this story is far from over. And trust me, and now we're left with more questions than answers, because the deeper this story goes, the more complicated it becomes. What started as quiet whispers has now turned into something the whole world is watching. And the truth is, we're only seeing the surface right now.
Because if even a fraction of these claims turns out to be real, then this isn't just about one person anymore. This could be about an entire system, one built on power, influence, and silence. A system where people may have felt like speaking out wasn't even an option. And that's the part that really makes you stop and think. But here's the twist. In situations like this, the truth always finds a way to come out. It might take time, it might come in pieces, but eventually, everything hidden has a way of being exposed. And right now, it feels like we're standing right at the edge of that moment. What nobody expected was for so many questions to start pointing in different directions, names being discussed, past connections being revisited, and stories that once sounded unbelievable suddenly being looked at in a completely different light. And as more people begin to speak, or even hint at what they know, the pressure keeps building. Because silence can only last for so long. And if people really were involved, whether directly or indirectly, then sooner or later, accountability becomes unavoidable. The industry is changing, the audience is paying attention, and the days of things being hidden behind fame and money may not be as strong as they once were. But at the same time, we have to remember, right now, a lot of this is still speculation. There are claims, theories, and conversations happening everywhere, but not everything has been proven. And that matters, because truth isn't built on rumors, it's built on facts. So as this story continues to unfold, it's important to stay aware, stay informed, and not jump to conclusions too quickly. Still, you can't ignore the energy around this situation. Something feels different. Something feels like it's shifting. And whether that leads to real answers or just more questions, one thing is certain: this story is far from over. So keep your eyes open, because the next piece of information could change everything we think we know. More names could come out, more details could surface, and when they do, you already know we'll be here breaking it all down for you. If you made it this far, you already know this isn't just another story, it's something much bigger. So go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Because trust me, the next chapter of this story, it might be the one that changes everything.